afternoon, my friends, and welcome to another episode of Try Bonsai. It's your boy, Vanna, and today, what we have happening today? First things first, let's do some pruning on this Salacaria forest planting. I've allowed it to grow, and it has grown, but it has also suffered some dieback. And I believe that could be attributed to where it probably sits, or it could be part of the species. I'm not entirely sure, to be very honest. Anyways, what I'm going to do, we're going to look at each individual tree and do some pruning. And once time permits, there's another Salacaria that I want to do some pruning too. And if time permits, there are a couple of reports that we could do. And if not, could try to do this as a series. Yeah, so without skipping a beat, Lowy Disco. This is the bark of the planting, and as you could see, there are a lot of bare branches. Some may be dead and some not so much. Right? But there's a lot of bare branches and everything is shooting towards the sun. So I believe where I had it, all of the growth went that way, to the front, leaving the back kind of bare. Because if I give you a side profile, it doesn't look as full as it should. However, the side profile where the front is a lot greener than the back. So that's something to be corrected. And coming around to the front, we have a lot of growth happening. These trees are nice and well established. As a matter of fact, there's a possibility that I may have to repot this very soon, probably when the new growth starts to come out. I'll have to do some repotting because this is looking as though, and I've seen roots here coming in to show you. That's a root here, and this is a root here, and between the fallen leaves there are roots like this that has died. Is a root of from somebody. So this warrants that we take a look at this. And I know you're seeing the little surprise here. My son decided he's gonna stick a dinosaur or half of a dinosaur in there to look like something. Looks kind of nice. Oh yes. Anyways, my friends, so this is the planting in its entirety. So let's get to some pruning. So I have to make sure the camera is a little bit away because we've been having a lot of rain today. Welcomed rain, because as I would have mentioned sometime before, we're well into the dry season. And rain is not as prevalent as it usually is during the dry season. So, some much welcomed rain. The plants love it. And it has given me a ease up with having the water. Anyways, so I said I was going to start from the back first and then go back to the front. So, I'm going to remove a lot of the dead bits. And then we're going to come back and look at some directional pruning. Yeah, so let me get to removing the dead bits. So I had to go and change my glasses. And as I went inside to get my reading glasses, the rain is down again. So I'm going to continue removing dead bits from this particular tree, and we're going to go around all the trees doing the same thing. comes down, and I'm working in the rain. As you can see, I'm getting quite wet. If it's coming down too much, I may have to abort this mission and resume at either a later date, later today, or tomorrow, or something of the sort, because it is coming down pretty hard. So anyways, I just did some directional pruning on this particular tree, removing a very thick branch from here, cutting it more than half, so reducing some of that vigor, and I cut back some of the branches in the hopes that we get new growth and we could start working on compacting this growth, because I don't want this forest to be all over the place. Crazy. Look at this very long branch. You only see where my finger is here is about a little more than half, and the size of the branch is very thick, so I'm going to have to reduce that tremendously. Anywho's, so I'm moving on to the next one, and considering what is happening right now, what I'm going to do is I am going to not only prune back the long shoots, but do directional pruning one time, and we're going to come back and look at the forest when I'm finished with it. So I pruned back pretty hard on these trees, and you could see the sap flowing, indicating that these trees are healthy, and with care they're good to go again. And what I want, as I said, is to kind of compact the growth. Now this has some oddly shaped trees, varying shapes. So you have this one to the back here, comes up, comes across, gives you a nice V, comes up. Then you have this one in front that had a major branch removal from here, healing over nicely, comes up, goes back, and then comes back forward to you as the front. You have this next guy that goes up. This, as you can see, the wire scars in an attempt at wiring when I thought it might have been an individual tree, but it ended up not being like that. As a matter of fact, it's the top of the other Salacaria that I have, and as I rotate to the side, you can see the varying shapes of the trees. This is one, the straightest of the set, you know, and what I'm going to do is kind of neaten up the landscape just a bit, removing all the dead foliage, give this some good fertilizer, and put this one side, and we're moving on to the next project. But I think it looks good. This is a good start. You're actually seeing that you're seeing the start of that shaping happening. So it's a matter, as I said, getting this growth more compacted, and we go have a little something. All right, on to the next one. So friends, this is the next Salacaria, and I think it has outgrown this spot. I need to repot it, but I'm going to exercise the same kind of action as the first one. I'm going to prune it back, and when it starts to give me new growth, I'm going to remove it from this spot. But what this is asking for is probably a much bigger pot, or well, not much bigger, but something a little bigger, so that I can encourage that root spread. But I am getting a nice kind of a flare. Now, I have a very big scar here that's healing over nicely, but It's ugly nonetheless. And wire scar, because the top of this was removed and with the rest of the wire scar and planted into the forest. And I have some pretty significant scars on this tree as I would have removed items as it progressed. But going up the tree from the base, you could see that it has grown quite a lot. And it is all the way up there. So, we're going to prune this back and try to develop, because what the original plan was for it not to be too excessively high and to try to create a canopy somewhere up here. So, and as I'm looking at that, I'm noticing yet another thing. So, hold on. As the rain has given me an ease, a little bit of a break, it comes up nicely with some movement created by the wiring and then by the removal of branches, right? But there are branches here, Y branches here, that has caused some reverse or inverse taper at this junction here, so right. So if you watch it, you can see it thins and then it thickens up at this point. So I can probably remove items. What I have to locate is the front of it, which is the front of the tree. And at this stage I don't know, because again what we have happening here is that where it was, half of the tree was shaded, half was receiving the sun, and the side that was receiving the sun, it is quite clear what is happening here. All the growth is on this side. So I have to pay some attention to these items. Now this is not such a bad front, although it has this very big scar here. So this as a front is not so bad. It gives me the opportunity to remove this and hide that reverse taper here, but it'll have this scar here, followed by this scar, and a fresh scar here, right? I don't know, but I don't want this happening here, and we have to bring it back down in order to compact this growth. So let me just go. First things first, my friends, I am going to remove this very thick branch from here, cutting into so that it heals over nicely, and as you saw me doing, using my little knife to kind of smoothen out these cut points to not look so jagged. And now what I'm going to do is reduce the height of this tree, and I may have to make some really dramatic cuts because I have some very thick branches coming up into the apex. So in comparison to how the trunk starts and how it tapers up, it's beginning to lose a bit of that taper from this point here. Ooh. A decision or decisions will have to be made. And with decisions that need to be made, big cuts will come. So let's go. Let us go. So while I was cutting, let me raise the camera a bit. Whilst I was snipping away at some of the dead bits, this is what was running across my mind. Do I cut this tree here and restart a canopy? Or do I remove this branch here and cut back and develop from here? If I remove this from here and restart a canopy, there's a possibility that I may end back up in the same melee. However, what it does, it gives me an opportunity to control or better control the growth and the foliage and all that is happening. Now, in any which way I go, is the same thing. I'll have to exercise a lot more control over the growth of the tree to minimize the amount of reverse taper or inverse taper that I'm getting. And I have bits of inverse taper all about. So I had here, I am seeing it here again. So from here to here, it's very thick in comparison to here. It's almost the same size, which is no good for me. Right? If I remove this, there are still 3 branches up here. I think I'm going to make a very drastic decision and cut this entire thing off. And if I cut this entire thing off, I just made this cut here, which, yeah. But if I cut this entire thing off, I have this branch here. I have this branch to the side here, and a couple small branches here. Maybe those will get the juice that they need to take off. Now, if I leave this and I take this, then I'll have to make a choice up at the top here, because I have 3 branches coming out almost from the same spot, resulting in the inverse again. I thought about it for a bit, for a few minutes, and I'm going to make a drastic cut. I'm going to make a very, very big cut here. So let me step a little bit closer to this thing. And I'm going to cut here, leaving a little bit of room. And that is that. This entire top is gone, which could be planted as a brand new tree. And now, what I have happening here is a much shorter tree. And as you can see, I have a much shorter tree happening here. So, as I said, I have a branch here. I have a little branch here, one here, and this branch to the back here. Although this is not the front of it, this could be the front, as the flare is wider here than here. What I will do, I will reduce this. As you can see, it weeps very nicely. If I could develop a canopy over here that just weeps the entire canopy, that will be amazing, boy. That will be something to write home about. So reducing, and when this, as you can see, it's bleeding quite a lot. And when this, hold a second. Missed. Not sure if you all know this, but if you have a ficus and you cut it and it's bleeding a lot and you pour water on it, it stops it from bleeding. So if you didn't know, now you know. Right. So this is here. Granted, this is a little straight. That is that. Some really drastic cuts, my friends. Really, really drastic cuts. Let's see how this goes. Gonna give it some fertilizer and put it in a spot where the sun is it gets sun evenly around the tree so that I could get an even kind of a growth. As I said, when it starts to shoot new growth, I'm going to remove it from this spot and take a in-depth look at the roots and probably get something a little bit wider for it. So, on to the next one.